Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to another edition of the Mikestand. Of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Um, so, of course, as we wait for more people, I'm gonna take care of something real quick here, and then when I come back, we will go ahead and talk about what. Hi, Mike. I'm out here. Okay, hey, Woody. All right. Well, yeah. Let me just take care of something real quick, then, and I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight as soon as I do a little. All right, then. Let's try this one more time here. Let me just be with you in a moment there, Woody. Just hold on, please. All right. And the thing's still. Let me see now. Okay. All right. So there we go. Let me see. All right. I see you there, Woody. All right. So, oh, wow. uh, let's see. StreamYard doesn't always like to count things, apparently. All right. So, anyways. All right. So, we're already coming up on 4 minutes into the show here. So, here's what's on tap for tonight. I've got a couple of articles that going to go over one from Critical Blast and the other from Bleeding Fool, including, of course, talking a little bit about Mike Barron's latest release, Bronze Star. Um, apparently, I guess there is some issues because apparently people are still trying to cancel them. He's just refusing to just lie down for them, and also, we'll be looking over an article from Bleeding Fool. Um, some news coming out of Marvel, but we'll get into that. Plus, of course, a wrestling wrap up and this day needs history. So now we're coming up on 5 minutes here. Why don't we go ahead and get started then? Alrighty then. There we go. There it is. Okay, so here's the first article we're gonna look at. And even when I talked to RJ earlier today, he even admitted that it was a puff piece. Let's do one more thing here. About to go over here. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get into this article. As I said, if anything catches your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. You can like and share the stream so we can get some more friendly people on here. So, anyways, here we go. Mike Barron, Pat Broderick unite for Weird Western Tale, Bronze Star. Now, Weird Western Tales, for those of you who may not know, was actually a series that DC did back in the I think could have started late 50s at the earliest, but I know that for a long time it might have actually even been later. It might have been more like 70s. And now that I think about it, of course, this has nothing to do with that series, but I don't. At least I don't think so. But just kind of an interesting little tidbit. Anyway, so here we go. Award-winning comics writer Mike Barron has teamed with acclaimed comics illustrator Pat Broderick for a supernatural weird western called Bronze Star. Award-winning writer Mike Barron has teamed up with acclaimed comics illustrator Pat Broderick for a supernatural western called Bronze Star. Despite being in the comic industry for decades, Bronze Star marks their first time working together. They've launched a Kickstarter campaign to fund their self-publishing effort. Now, again, I don't know why Mike would even consider going to considering the issues that have been going on with both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I don't see why he just doesn't go straight to fund my comic. You know, he doesn't have to worry about the BS if he goes to fund my comic. But that's just of course my opinion, and I'm welcome to it. uh okay, let's see. Oh yeah. The project can be previewed at bronzestarcomic.com, which features Broderick's art, which Pat calls the best work of his career. Big Studios Comics, same studio which launched Barron's Florida Man. Oh, so that was Mike Barron as well, huh? I've seen the avatar on RJ's channel when during his intro slideshow there when he's got like all those different books like Florida Man, Core, Thin Blue Line, all that. I didn't know that Florida Man was Barron's Thin Blue Line, and his most recent hit, Private American, is also managing Bronze Star. The graphic novel is probably best described as H.P. Lovecraft meets Sergio Leone. The story centers on a Confederate veteran named Harley Brogdon. Wonder if he would happen across Jonah Hex. I wonder. Kind of curious about that. Wouldn't that be an interesting interaction, huh? Jonah Hex and Harley Brogdon. Brogdon. Let's see. Or Brogdon. Okay. running for his life after a poker game turns deadly. The card sharp. I believe that's supposed to say card shark, not shark. Card shark. Harley Kill turns out to be the son of a rich landowner who will stop at nothing to bring Harley to justice. He flees to Cobb's Gap, a remarkably peaceful silver mining town at the foot of the Canadian Rockies. The sheriff harbors a secret, and no one goes to the old mine anymore. People speak in hushed tones of something in the mine, something worse than their cursed sheriff, something even the Indians fear. And when the landowner's posse arrives seeking their revenge, the stage is set for a showdown with unimaginable horrors from the deepest pits of hell. And all the secrets of Cobb's Gap are finally exposed, and the reader finally learns why no one goes into the mines. Wow, that's quite a story they've got going there. Quite a story. See if anybody has anything to say yet on it. Uh, uh. All right. So, anyways, we get ready to continue on here. Bronze Star is an old school, violent, and gritty, quote unquote, weird western, elevated to a terrifying love story through the deft writing of Mike Barron, a two-time Eisner winner, probably best known for his lengthy comic runs on The Punisher, The Flash, and Deadman. And I'm sure a lot of Punisher fans right now are wishing he was back on The Punisher, considering what Marvel just did to The Punisher. But what really makes this tale come to life is the artistry of longtime pro Pat Broderick, a DC Comics veteran who worked on Detective Comics, Legion of Superheroes, Green Lantern, and also at Marvel Comics on Alpha Flight and Micronauts. To showcase Pat's astonishing detail, the creative team is also offering an exclusive, limited edition, oversized black and white hardcover edition of Bronze Star, which is only available through Kickstarter and autographed by the creators. Quote, one of the great joys of independently publishing comics is we can tell whatever stories we want, unquote, says big studios publisher Chris Braley. Unfortunately, when you're working with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, that's not completely the case. Not completely true, because we've heard many of the horror stories that sometimes they will try to cancel you. They will try to censor you. That's why I think that's why Mike and I think all independent comic creators should just go to fund my comic and just not deal with the BS of companies like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Anyways, and as always, guys, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. If you haven't already, if you can like and share this thing, so we get some more friendly people on here, that'd be appreciated. Anyways, quote, I'm a huge fan of classic westerns and have always gotten a kick out of werewolf movies and tales of the supernatural. Bronze Star mashes up all those great genres and takes them to a whole new level, unquote. Bronze Star is raising funds through Kickstarter, which features several rewards and stretch goals, including exclusive art points by Broderick and additional story pages. The crowdfunded campaign reached its funding goal in less than 72 hours and it is expected to conclude at the end of June, with the book going to the printer in August. That sounds like something that very much sounds like something that sure a lot of people would be interested in getting. I just hope the Kickstarter doesn't you know try to kick Mike Barron in the booty, as it were. Anyways, let's get ready to move on to the next article here, the second and possibly the depending about time and stuff, I might try to see if there's more we can look into. All right, so here we go as we get ready to. All right, so this is the other article that caught my attention, and we may go back a couple of days here, a day or two here as well, depending on how long this article takes us to go over. Let me see here. All right, now we're picking things up a bit. Good. If you guys can help out, of course, by liking and sharing the stream and seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. And if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So here we go. Marvel Comics is bringing back two of their most pretentious article by Avi Green, published June 6th, 2023, today. Over 2 decades ago, JMS penned one of the most pretentious runs possible on Superman. I wonder who JMS is. On Spider-Man, and subsequently added Thor and Superman to the list of comics he had no business shoving his far ultra leftist viewpoint onto. Again, I wonder who JMS is here. Doesn't really say. It's two of their most pretentious. Okay. Now, in this Gizmodo interview, we learned JMS is coming back to the company he assisted in dumbing down, and the main project he'll be taking this time is Captain America, which already suffered more than enough under writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates. But we're about to find out who JMS is. 16 years ago, J. Michael Straczynski, okay, that answers that question. That's who JMS is. Inadvertently gave the Marvel Comics world one of the all-time great Captain America moments in the pages of his Civil War era run on Amazing Spider-Man. Now it's time for him to move in a major return to the publisher to put the spotlight on Steve Rogers for real in a brand new run of Captain America. IO9 can exclusively reveal that Straczynski, the renowned comics and TV writer already in the midst of returning to one of his other iconic works, the sci-fi series Babylon 5, will team up with Jesus Saiz for the relaunch of Captain America later this year. The series will see Steve thrust into a shadowy plot to prevent Captain America from changing the world of superheroes forever, as he did, bursting onto the scene in the Age of Heroes. A sinister foe that wants to plunge the world into darkness, no matter the cost. Well, sounds pretty intriguing. Hmm. All right, so as we continue on here with the article, based on his past political allegories and metaphors from a liberal perspective, one can only wonder if the foe who wants to cast darkness upon the globe is a right winger. I guess if JMS is what Avi's claiming him to be, that would not be huge shock, I guess, to anybody. After all, Straczynski's shown no signs of changing his leftist politics, and there's every chance he'll practically be allowed by the editors now to write in more terrible liberal influence moments if they've decided to lift any previous opposition to doing so. After all, if Coates was allowed to them, let's not think things will improve with JMS at the helm. Yeah, and when they bring these hard left writers back and they start putting more of their hard left ideology in the stories, the sales numbers will likely go down, 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 down. Gravity gonna go down, down, down. Let's see. James Whitbrook, IO9. Why was now the time? So I guess this is a portion of the interview that IO9 did. Why was now the time for you to return to Marvel in an ongoing capacity? Why was Captain America the character that drew you back? J. Michael Straczynski. Like most things, the process was incremental. It started when Will Moss asked me to do a short piece for the big Thor anniversary issue, which ended up getting a fair bit of attention. Then he asked me to do a Thanos story for that big issue, which also drew a lot of eyeballs, which led me to me writing yet another piece for Marvel Age 1000, coming out soon. During all this, Will Moss asked if I'd write a 6-issue miniseries that would be a bit of an event. In brackets here, editor's note, more on that coming soon, unbracketed. I did so, and it was a ton of fun for everyone involved. And Will gave Alana, bracket Smith, Marvel Comics editor, unbracketed, one of my scripts that involved Captain America. Alana liked how I handled the character and sends an email asking if I'd like to take over the monthly Captain America book. And that was pretty much the best thing ever because I've always had a strong affinity for Cap, which is why I would sneak him into just about everything I wrote for Spider-Man and Thor. So back to Avi here. Avi's commentary here on the matter. From what I recall about Smith, she's a bad leftist too. She's a bad leftist lot too. So we can only expect the worst from her as an editor by extension. If they're boomeranging back to divisive politics in any way, that won't be shocking at this point. And for somebody claiming to have a big affinity for Cap, he sure didn't seem to have any for Mary Jane Watson nor Gwen Stacy back in the mid 2000s. Now, granted, I obviously didn't follow Marvel at that point, so I don't I don't know quite what Avi's talking about, but I'm sure he will maybe explain. Sure, some of you out there already probably know what he's talking about. I do know there was a lot of heat over the fact of Gwen Stacy getting killed off, and then Mary Jane and Peter on again, off again, on again, off again marriage. So, IO9, tell us a little bit about what you have in store. So this is back to the interview in store for Steve in this new run. What do you want to say about Captain America? Krasinski, here's the thing. I come from television, where the number one rule is that you must service the main character above all else. When I took on the Amazing Spider-Man, Peter had been all but lost in a crowd of supporting characters. So I set them aside to delve deep into him, his relationships, his fears, and his dreams along the way, setting the stage for the Spider-Verse. I did much the same when I came aboard Thor and began asking what it actually means to be a god and putting Asgard in Oklahoma to see how he and the others relate to the mortal world, making them both more godlike and also more personal. Um, Ditto for Supreme Power and Mark Milton. Again, it's all about servicing the main character first and foremost. Servicing the main character or servicing your own, ideologies. Let's see. So Avi's response to that statement is this: on this, sounds like he's making cheap excuses for kicking much of the supporting cast to the curb. Since the whole notion they make it impossible to focus foremost on the star of the show is laughable. So if he's going to sideline Sharon Carter, in an example like he did with Sif in his Thor run, not only will that not be surprising, it'll be a telling sign Straczynski's clueless where to go with his new Cap run either. And I'm guessing that they're going back to the interview here. Let's see if anybody's coming to chime in here. Hey Rick. Hey Rick. You guys can help me out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people on here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, let's get back to the article here then. Let's see, and I guess this is still Straczynski talking here. I've often heard writers say how hard it is to write for Captain America because in recent years he's become a symbol more than a person. Because they see him as quote unquote a man out of time, which is true, but that needn't define him. In a sense, we're all people out of time because the world we live in at age 30, isn't the same it was when we were 6. It doesn't change the fundamental question, who is this character at their absolute core? Push them to their limits, put them up against a wall, make them stand when standing is the hardest thing in the world. And what do you see? Who do you see? One thing about Steve Rogers, and this is still Straczynski talking, of course. One thing about Steve Rogers that's never really been addressed is the period between when his parents died and when he became Captain America. We're talking about a sickly, skinny 17-year-old kid trying to survive on his own for because he's stubborn and independent on the streets for several years, hustling for any gig he can get, even if it's bigger than he is, trying to afford food and a place to stay. So we will counterpoint a present tense story in which Captain America faces off against a new villain of supernatural origin, um, with a story about his younger self, with both stories tightly interwoven. Because there's one other key aspect to that period that we will be addressing. The years young Steve was on his own were the same years during which the American Bund, for all intents and purposes the Nazi Party in America, was growing very powerful in real world New York, blocks from where we lived. They held public marches and rallies, harassed people, and spread hate, all part of an effort to get America on the side of the Nazis. A campaign that came to a head with the biggest Nazi rally on American soil in history, as tens of thousands of people, Nazis and Nazi sympathizers, crammed into Madison Square Garden to celebrate their dream of a thousand-year Reich. Hmm. We are going to put young Steve right into the middle of the real life vortex where, despite terrible odds, he will make a crucial difference at an even more crucial moment. For a young Peter Parker, the murder of his Uncle Ben was a transformational event, putting him on the path to becoming Spider Man. Much like, of course, Bruce Wayne, witnessing the murder of his parents, you know, same thing there, Um, this story will be equally transformational, putting a young Steve Rogers on the path to being a hero he eventually becomes. To balance all that, the contemporary story has a lot of fun and action, and in both storylines, we get to see some flashes of humor from Steve because I think that range is essential to good storytelling. We will loosen him up and make him even more of a compelling character on his own terms. I don't know if that will really work too well. We have some more exchanges here. Woody saying hi to Rick. Now Rick, not sure of Cap's history. Has it been established that Steve was on his own before becoming Cap? It probably was later. I know. From what I don't think they really like many times when originally, of course, Captain America came about in the Golden Age, and I think much like Superman from that time, they didn't really delve too deeply into his background. Probably wasn't until later that they did that more. So that might be more new canon that domestic Yahtzees everywhere. Ah, thank you, by the way, Rick, for the like and the share there. Hopefully, we can get more people in here. Anyways, getting back to the article. See, and now this is Avi commenting again here. Seeing how he failed to do that with Spidey, I can't see why we should expect any improvement here. Hmm. Well, on the off chance that he does, you know, nor should we be shocked if comparisons are drawn between modern right wingers and National Socialist of the past, mainly because it's been done countless times before in the past decade or so, and no chance they'll cease now. The part about Cap being a quote man out of time unquote continues to be quite insulting to the intellect because it sounds more like a subtle attack on the values Steve Rogers was built upon. And sadly, that's practically what's happened for 2 decades already. Yeah, I would have to kind of agree with him on that. Probably been happening much longer than that though, but IO9. So we're back to the interview here. Steve's relationship to the iconic iconography of America as a political entity is something he's always grappled with throughout his career as a hero. How do you approach writing Steve and his relationship with America in this new book, Krasinski? As you note, this has been dealt with a lot in the title, so rather than go up against all that to redefine it one more time, I'd rather go in a different direction at the start. Not to ignore it, because that bill always comes due sooner or later, but just to give it a bit of a rest while we focus on Steve as a character, as a person, rather than one symbol trying to figure out how he relates to another symbol. Let's see. And this is Avi's response to that particular statement. Alas, whichever direction he goes in, it's not bound to be a good one. And if J. Michael Straczynski, JMS, J. Michael Straczynski, could screw up Spidey's continuity in history as badly as he did, we can expect no less this time with Steve Rogers. Back to the interview here. IO9, you're working with Jesus Saiz on the new Cap series. After you previously crossed paths over at DC for team ups of The Brave and the Bold, what's it been like working with Jesus again? What has he brought to the new series? Straczynski here. We've seen the first issue's worth of art from Jesus, and it's just beautiful. He was on my short list from day one because so much of my work lives or dies by whether or not you can read emotion in the faces of the characters. Jesus excels at that. He gets to explore the contemporary story with a lot of action, much of it of a supernatural origin. Then go into a period look for the book as we follow Steve in New York in the late 1930s. So he gets to play with all the fun toys and show what he can do. So yeah, it's really great looking. It's a really great looking book. So overall, the goal is to do some really challenging stories, some really fun stories, and get inside Steve's head to see who he really is in ways that may not have been fully explored yet before. If folks like what I did with Peter in Amazing Spider-Man and Thor in Thor, then they should really give this a shot because I'm really swinging for the bleachers in this one. Albeit I'm going to read what Avi says. Something tells me I've got a pretty good idea what Avi's probably got to say here. But he's probably not going to sound too happy about it. To me, Steve just would have been brought with the values he holds. Rick was saying there, because it would have been similar values to people of that time, which is true. Well, Rick, and we talked a little bit about this too. Fun toys in the 1930s. This isn't 2930s. There would be this isn't the 2930s. There would be fun toys. Yeah. Well, again, a lot of the, people like Straczynski and DeConnick and Bendis and Slott and Taylor and King. If these people had, and Simone, these people had their way. Okay, if these people had their way, a good chunk of America's past would just simply be erased. There's an old saying, it came out of World War II. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Um, So there's an obvious response to what Straczynski just said. Now that sounds familiar. Quote, getting inside heads, unquote, is just what JMS supposedly set out to do with Spidey. And all that came of it was distorted continuity, just a taste of what was to come. Unless we forget the atrocity that was Sin's past, with Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson becoming two birds killed with one stone, in a tale that made them both out to look sleazy and stupid, with the former's forced and contrived depiction having sex with Norman Osborn and bearing his children an utter embarrassment. Also note J. Michael Straczynski didn't say if he'd be willing to write stories where Cap battles Islamic terrorism in ways that improve upon the atrocity that was a Marvel Knights run, and if he won't spotlight serious issues like those, we can't expect anything intelligible now either. It's not hard to guess he hasn't changed and has no regrets over what an awful story Sin's Past was. An example, and and that's why this new Cap tale should be avoided. AMS isn't the only terrible scribe who's making quote unquote a comeback on something previously worked upon. Even Dan Slott's returning to writing a new volume of Superior Spider-Man, according to Comic Book. I guess this is from the comic book article, I guess. In a quick tweet on Saturday, the publisher confirmed that the fan favorite Superior Spider Man would be returning, marking the third volume to star the character. Marvel has confirmed that Eisner Award winner Dan Slott will return to write the new series, which arrives this fall. Though they added, quote, more info swinging in soon, unquote, it seems likely we may not know more about the new Superior Spider-Man series until San Diego Comic-Con, which of course comes up at the end of July here in California, but further south of where I'm at. Anyways, and this is Avi's response to that. In that case, one more reason to stay away from San Diego Comic-Con altogether. Slott was doing nothing more than troll the audience, not to mention inject a bunch of, quote, one man's terrorist is another's freedom fighter propaganda. Yeah, well, I mean, that aspect of it, unfortunately, is true. I mean, yes, unfortunately, based on your opinion, one person may think of somebody as, and we talked about it with Namor, Rick, with Namor, to most people, yes, he's a terrorist, but to the people of his own country, he's a hero, Um, so, anyways, and the way he treated Mary Jane in the tale was inexcusable too. And look how they perpetuate the propaganda about the series being a quote fan favorite unquote. That's also insulting. So there's two overrated writers who've sadly been given another chance at some series they never had genuine respect for in the first place. This sure is the most sad occasion indeed. And that's the end of that article. So, those are the only two articles I was doing tonight. So we're at 46 minutes already. So why don't we go ahead then and get right into the wrestling wrap up? Going through some stuff real quick here to talk about real quick. First on the WWE front, in terms of what happened on last night's Monday Night Raw. The main event did see Seth Rollins successfully retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and in two of the Money in the Bank in the female Money in the Bank qualifiers, Becky Lynch defeated Sonya Deville, and Zoe Stark defeated Natalia. Now, there were some complaints from people saying that it was obvious who was going to win in these cases. And that was kind of one of the things that people were criticizing about the show last night. In a non-title match, Intercontinental Champion Gunther defeated Kevin Owens. The women's champions, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, defeated a new team of Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura went to a no contest in their match, and so that was it. So there's some rumors going around that Bray Wyatt might be coming back. Vince McMahon was apparently at Raw last night, was making changes 2 hours before the show. And apparently there's been some hints dropping that the Judgment Day faction might, there's some talk that they might be splitting up, or at the very least, Damian Priest might be turning face soon. We're dropping hints of that. So that's all of the WWE news. Let's go and talk a little bit about AEW now. It's tomorrow night, preparing for tomorrow night's Dynamite. Yes, and Forbidden Door, the co-joint venture of Forbidden Door from AEW and New Japan happens later this month on the 25th. So that'll be a little under 3 weeks away, and we'll have a little bit more news as the first two matches for Forbidden Door have been confirmed. Have been confirmed. I had mentioned them on last night's show. I'll talk a little bit about those again. But for tomorrow night's Dynamite event here, thus far the main event looks to be Orange Cassidy defending the International Championship against Swerve Strickland. Ricky Starks will get his hands on Jay White in a one-on-one grudge match. The team known as Jungle Hook of Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Hook, FTW champion, taking on two members of La Facción Ingobernable of Dralistico and Preston Vance. And opening up the night in a 6-man tag match, the Blackpool Combat Club of Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta will be taking on a team calling themselves Chaos of Rocky Romero and the tag team known as Best Friends of Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. So as things continue to move forward towards Forbidden Door for AEW and New Japan, one other piece of news that was confirmed today from New Japan as well was the first 2 matches signed, as I said, for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up on June 25th for the combined promotion coming out of Toronto, Canada for New Japan and All Elite Wrestling. The 2 matches that have been signed thus far, Kenny Omega will be defending the IWGP United States Heavyweight title against Will Ospreay. Ospreay looks to get some revenge on Omega from his loss at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom back in January. And also answering a challenge from Bryan Danielson, Kazuchika Okada. It's now been confirmed that Okada will be taking on Danielson at the event. So now that's all the wrestling news we have for you guys. So now as we begin to start to wind down here, today being Tuesday, June 6th, 2023, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Niche history. History! Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to wish a happy birthday to somebody. Actor Jason Isaacs turned 60 years old today. Niche history? Yep. Niche history. So, I want to wish a happy 60th birthday to Jason Isaacs, who's, of course, an English actor. He's, I guess currently he's the voice of Dick Dastardly in Scoob. But aside from that, he's done a number of voices for some characters in, in the DC cinematic universe, including Ra's al Ghul in Batman Under the Red Hood, Sinestro in Green Lantern Emerald Knights, Lex Luthor in Justice League Gods and Monsters, and Superman in Superman Red Sun. So happy 60th birthday to English actor Jason Isaacs. And 1963 is just so nice that we're gonna hit it twice. As also on this date in 1963, Harvey Comics had a bit of a big day that day in terms of a number of releases, including releasing, I think it was like 4 or 5 first issues, as well as 5th issue of it. So on this date, the following first issues were released by Harvey Comics: Richie Rich Dollars and Cents, Stumbo, Tri-Town. So it was actually only 3, and TV Casper and Company. So the number 1 issues for Richie Rich Dollars and Cents, Stumbo, Tri-Town, and TV Casper and Company, as well as the 5th issue of Little Audrey TV Funnies, all were released by Harvey. So four books there at least, released by Harvey on this date back in 1963, 60 years ago. So there we go with that one. Now moving on to the next piece of niche history, the last piece of niche history for the night. On this date in 1973, 50 years ago today. On this date, 50 years ago today. I'm not gonna find it. Billy Robinson would defeat Dusty Rhodes for the Hawaii version of the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship. Now, mind you, this is back when NWA was still, they were territorial system. They did have, of course, the world champion, the world champion, and world junior heavyweight titles that would, tour around the country. But a number of the territories had their own claim to the North American Heavyweight Championship. And on this date, 50 years ago today, Billy Robinson defeated Dusty Rhodes for the Hawaii's claim to the North American Heavyweight Championship. So there you go, guys. I thank everybody for being here. Hope everybody enjoyed the show and enjoyed the content. I'll be back here tomorrow night with more Niche News. Hopefully you guys will be back with me. And also, this Friday I'll have Rick on with me, Rick Piper, Cross Comics, as we look over Best Comic Volume 1, Number 2 from Standard. So until tomorrow, bye.